All right. Well, welcome everybody back to the Beautiful You Coaching community. We have Kelly McEntee here today. She was here not that long ago to share her Story Matters conversation. And if you haven't checked it out yet, I encourage you to go there and check out her story because she just truly shares some of her most challenging situations that she's overcome and endured that has brought her so much more love and compassion to serve this world that she is now doing in light of being a business and life coach. She helps creative entrepreneurs funnel their brilliant ideas into massive magical action. And today she's going to be sharing a topic called the art of living a desired led life. I'm excited to dive into this topic with you, Kelly. So tell the people here who you are and what, just briefly, what brought you into this space, because if they want to go dive in deeper, they can go and check out your Story Matters conversation. But welcome.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm like you said, life and business coach. So I help creative entrepreneurs really get in love with their ideas, see that their ideas are valuable, and help them stop being paralyzed by the abundance of amazing ideas that they have, and choosing one or two or a couple of them to really go all in with. I truly believe like we can have it all, and we certainly can. And the catch with that, especially with our brilliant ideas, is that we can see them out all, like we can have them all be created. But the thing is that we can't necessarily create them all at one time. And so that's what I help people do is I help them get their idea going, get it out there into the world and get it executed in a way that feels really good and manageable. And like it kind of set it up in a foundational sort of way. So then it's just going and it just is. So then we can take those next good ideas and start going forth with them. So that's kind of explaining the helping people funnel their ideas into massive magical action is we do take those ideas and you get to address them all, but we get to address them all in their due time and give them like the lights and the attention that they require to be nourished and grow. And then thank you. And part of that too is helping people see what kind of ideas and what things in their life really bring them joy, create that like pleasure and joy in their life. And that comes from paying attention to their desires. And that's where this talk was kind of born out of. The art of living a desired led life is like, what if we leaned into what we wanted 10% more? Like how much more wonderful of a world would all of our worlds be? And I'll share more throughout this presentation too, because I strongly believe like when we do what we want, others benefit. Because when we do what we want, we show up in a way that is more true to who we are, and our true selves are really powerful, magical beings. And so that's kind of the background of this presentation that I'm going to be sharing today, and also a little bit about like how I help coaching clients as well.
I love it. I love it. I can't wait to dive in with you because I have had so many ideas. And I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people you work with struggle with the exact same thing that they're like, well, if I can't do it all, I can't do any of it. But instead of taking that building block approach of just like, okay, these are all amazing ideas, let's focus on one and then evolve into the next and the next and the next so that you can do all the things without feeling like you're throwing something away
Right.
in your heart. So that is such a powerful tool that you're bringing.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to share it. And I love like getting to help people through that all as well.
Yes, let's dive in, enlighten us with some magic.
I will do that. Okay, so I'm going to get my screen shared up here. Can you see this?
I can.
Okay. All right. So again, this what I'm going to be talking about today is the art of living a desire-led life, where as a result, we're able to create more of what you want. And so again, this is just a quick intro about me, and this is the name of my business coaching program. So I do coaching and I do some design work as well. And it's called Business Vitality Coaching. And that kind of is like addressed throughout the context of this this presentation too. And I do want to share just a little bit about the name of Business Vitality Coaching. It came from when I looked at my business and I realized like what keeps people alive, what keeps people going and showing up powerfully in their life and in their business is when they're having fun. And it's not necessarily like that fun has to be all like light and fun and games, but when we're doing that thing that like lights us up, that ignites us, that has us feeling like alive and electric and like ready to go forth. And that to me is vital. That is vital that we are able to run our businesses and live our lives in a way that feels so alive and nourishing and joyful and pleasurable and fun and all of those things. Because when we start, I call it should, I mean, this term is out there all over. Like when we start shoulding all over ourselves, what we're really doing is we're like pressing, we're pushing against, we're pulling, we're like running our business in this like resistance sort of way. And that's not going to create like long-term success. And for me, and I'm sure for many people that I work with and, you know, people watching this, like your business isn't just this thing that you're going to kind of start and stop. Like I look at your business as it's like your other child, you're having another baby. And so we want to grow and nourish and develop this baby like we would our children, like give it the best of us and let it like see the side of us that we want it to see and let it bring out the best of us as well. So really that like give and take relationship. And I say like be in love with your life, be in love with your business. Otherwise, like honestly, otherwise, what is the point? Like, what are we doing here if we can't be in love with our life and be in love with our business? And that's a big result of what people get out of coaching together too, is like they find this newfound love for themselves. And when you can have that, like, again, the world is just a better place. So then I also included my website address, livewellwithkel.com, if anyone wants to contact me there. So the art of living a desire-led life. What we're going to do in our time together here today is we are going to learn what it is and what it is not. We're going to understand 4 key words that matter most in this topic. We're going to take steps to simply start amplifying your desires today. They're very simple steps. And we're also going to take a deep dive on the big wants in your life and in your business. So first of all, we got to get out of the way what a desire-led life is not. A desire-led life is not waiting for the circumstances to be perfect. It's also not about disregarding other people, putting them down or hurting them. Like we don't go for our desires at all costs of other people. Like it doesn't mean you have to be like selfish and reckless and harmful on your way to living a desire-led life, because like that's not a life I desire. And I know many other people don't as well. It's also not indulgence. It's not indulgent to say yes to what you want, to lean into your desires. And again, that kind of goes back to that vitality piece. Like it's life-giving, it's essential, and it matters. And like I said before, it's not selfish and it's not harmful to other people. So if that's what it's not, then here's what it is. A desire-led life is creating the experience you want now, regardless of the circumstance. So this starts with our thoughts and our feelings. This is a big thing to sit with, so I'm going to repeat it. The experience of our life is not based on our circumstances. It is based on our thoughts and feelings around our circumstances. Like that is so much too, like what I coach on and what I help my clients with too. And it just comes up in all of our, circumstances of life. Like we get to decide the experience that we have when we get to take a look at our thoughts and our feelings. And they really go hand in hand. And a desire-led life is also strengthening for the relationships in your life. You can have stronger relationships in your life when you lean into your desires. And like I've honed in on already, it's vital. And it is really giving the world the best version of you.
Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah. And a desire-led life is bringing your feelings to the forefront. You get to ask yourself, especially when like thinking about goal setting, how do I want to feel? And how would following through with this choice make me feel? And I know, like, for a lot of people, we kind of view feelings as not something that really matters, or like, let's just bypass them. But like, if we allowed ourselves the opportunity to just sit in with this question of like, how do I want to feel in this moment in any decision that we're making, we can then like create more decisions that we like, create more decisions that we want. So I'm all about bringing your feelings to the forefront of all of the decisions that we're making. And I've heard from some people who work in like executive organizations and that sort of things, or they're executives of organizations, that like this is such a foreign concept to so many organizations when they think about like the work that they're doing. Like we forget about feelings and like what power and changes that could create in the decisions that we make if we just slow down for like literally 10 seconds to ask ourselves, how do I want to feel in this moment? Or how would following through with this choice or with this decision make me feel?
These are great questions. They're really questions that I've had to sit with as I was transitioning out of our accounting firm and coming into
Mhm.
my coaching practice full time, because just separating, working with my husband, seeing him day in and day out, and that
Mhm.
was stirring up a ton of feelings like, how is this going to affect our marriage? Like, these are questions that I had to ask. How is this going to benefit our relationship for the long term? Is it going to cause conflict? Is it going to cause disconnect? And all these different questions that were coming up for
Mhm.
us as I was moving into this place. These are great questions to be asking yourself as you're exploring that desire within you, because the accounting firm was killing me slowly, and I was
Mhm.
getting great anxiety in my body. I'd want to throw up every time I go into the office. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
feeling right with me. And then having the heart to heart with my husband, being like, I love you and I love what we've done and what we've built here, but this isn't for me anymore. And that
Mhm.
was a tough thing to say, because we are a rock star team. We do amazing work together. And
Mhm.
it was really challenging to say, like, this isn't my dream anymore.
Right.
Right?
And even to how, like, yes, absolutely, it was like a tough thing to say, and allowing yourself to slow down to like recognize these feelings of like, this isn't how I want to feel. It made you go from like not saying the thing that you didn't even know you needed to say to being able to have the courage to say the tough thing.
Mhm.
Like that, okay, I'm learning, I'm getting clear and clear that like I don't want to feel nauseous every day. I don't want to like literally feel like throwing up going to work.
Mhm.
That knowing that provided you the courage to say the hard thing.
Mhm. Yeah, so true, sister. Good
Yeah,
questions. Good questions. Make sure you write those ones down, ladies.
right. Yes, absolutely. And I just love this picture because it's just a little extra sass. Like you
I
can,
do love that picture. I thought that as soon as you came to this slide, I was like, "Oh, girl, you power."
right. Exactly. Yes. Okay, so we want to talk too about like why does this, like we've like, talked about it here too, but like, why do these questions matter? And knowing what you want takes and creates self-trust. When you have self-trust, you have you're able to create greater confidence within yourself. And even thinking of your example, like even if it was just like a smidge of confidence that was needed to say the hard thing, you had that because you had that greater self trust, because you had that greater knowing of what you want. And then confidence creates a calm peace of mind. When our mind is calm, that is vital to our well-being, to our success, to our health, and to our relationships. Like when we have that calm peace of mind, we again show up as that version of ourselves that benefits the world, that the world needs. And so you'll see throughout the slide I have like little light bulbs in here, and these are like light bulb moments for you to turn on for yourself, which is, and this light bulb moment is, others benefit when I do what I want. And I have a little asterisk at the bottom that this is deeply intimate work. Like getting really clear on what you want is very intimate and vulnerable work. Like it feels like you are very much exposing yourself when you finally come out with saying what it is that you want.
Mhm.
And so part of like that, how do like going back to the questions of how do I want to feel? Maybe like a bridge to starting to identifying that is like, well, I know that I feel this way now, and I don't want to feel that way anymore. So maybe it's starting with questions of like, how do I know I don't want to feel? And something that's come up very recently in a coaching conversation with one of my clients is the thought, another light bulb, if I could have added it here in this slide, if I would have remembered as I'm talking now, is that when we name what we want, what we're really doing is where we are creating a reflection of what we are continuing to tolerate, that we do not want to be tolerating anymore. And that is a really powerful thought to sit with as well.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so, some questions for you as you're sitting here listening to this, thinking through some things for you to imagine for yourself. Have you ever felt resentful of others? Have you ever regretted decisions that you've made, been completely exhausted, felt like your brain is on a hamster wheel, or have you ever worried about what others think? If you answered yes to one, some, or all of these, then this workshop, these are all signs that learning the art of a desire-led life is something that is going to help you, and it is going to make an impact on your life. Because when we lean into our desires, those other things that we talked about, the feeling resentful of others, regretting decisions, feeling exhausted, constantly being busy in our brains and being worried about what other people think, those naturally go away. The more and more and more we learn how to lean into what we want and to lean into our desires. And I'll explain how that works throughout this as well. But before I get into that, I want to share a story about how living a desire-led life is not indulgent at all. It is extremely vital. And my story is the story of an amazing espresso. So there was, it was this past fall, my husband and I, our anniversary is in October. And so we planned this like weekend getaway, and we went to this nice dinner or this nice restaurant for dinner. And I already kind of felt like leaning into this desire-led life thing was new to me. It was like a new thing that I was like, it was like really stretching my comfort zone. It was really like, I was pressing kind of into it, but it was fun. I was like willing to explore it. So we had this really delicious and amazing dinner. And then excuse me, sorry. Can you see that when my email notifications come up?
Just a little blue dot. You're good.
Okay. All right. Thanks. Just want to make sure. So we were having this dinner, and then I saw this tape. We were like contemplating, like, do I want dessert? Do I not want dessert? I don't know. And then I was like going all in my head, like in my body. I knew I was like, dessert would be so good right now. Like it would be so good. Like it would just be like the perfect finish to this really great dinner. But then my brain was like, oh, Kelly, like you don't need that. That's more money. Like you're already spending a lot of money on this dinner. We're spending a lot of money this whole weekend. All of these kind of things were like running through my head. And as I was thinking through this table next to us had this or this dessert order come to them, and I kind of spotted it, and I was like, oh, that does look really good. And I knew I was trying to lean into my desires more. And so I really stretched myself and I said, let's get dessert. And actually, what I want for dessert is what that lady is drinking. What is she drinking? That looks so good. And it was just this like little espresso. And so I said, I would like it an espresso. And my husband got like this really delicious scoop of gelato ice cream. So we got our desserts, and I had that espresso. And I swear I have never like remembered a dessert so vividly as I did in that moment. That espresso was so good. It was so delicious. It was just like the perfect stamp on the end of this really amazing dinner. And in reflection now of that like nice dinner date that we had, what I remember most is like the moment of just like sitting there having the espresso and like taking some bites of my husband's dessert and like giving him a sip of the espresso, and just that like really like special like quiet moment. And I honestly probably wouldn't have that same memory or same like fondness of this dinner if I didn't allow myself to just like say yes to an espresso, to say yes to something like delicious that really was like very minimal extra cost to our dinner. Like that little cost that it was to our dinner is now like just this like, I can feel it as I talk about it. I can feel like, oh my gosh, that was so good. I'm still months and months later, like so glad I said yes to that espresso.
Yeah, making plans to go back for a second.
Mhm. Right. Yeah. And just like also to like celebrating like, yes, this is what happens when we lean into our desires. Like we are more present in the moment. We just like feel like the richness of life, of our experiences when we allow ourselves to like lean into our desires. We get so much more out of life when we just like lean in a little further, when we say yes to like what our body knows like we really really want. And like it's not indulgent, it was just a little bit, and it was actually decaf too. It was so good. So I just wanted to share that story to like allow yourselves to think about like, what if I let myself say yes to something as small as like a dessert that sounds so delicious? Like how fun and good would that be?
Mhm.
So being desire led, what it does is it helps you make decisions. And something I like to think about is like, if the question of what will they think of me is still one of the first questions that comes to mind, like you're not quite there yet with your decision. You're not like fully leaning into that desire. You're letting what they think about you matter more than like that thing that you want, than that thing that you know is right.
Mhm.
And knowing your desires makes making decisions so much easier. And another like light bulb moment is you put the tough in tough decisions. And so if I could put you on the spot here, Stacey, going back to the example that you shared
Mhm.
of like, it actually like truthful, very like if we got really rooted in the truth of what you wanted, that conversation with your husband and what you wanted wasn't hard. Like you knew deeply, like, I do not want to do this. But what makes the tough decisions tough is worrying about what other people will think.
Yeah, or
Is
letting them
worrying,
down. Yeah.
yes, is worrying about what impact will this have on them, on us. But
Mhm.
like at the root of it, your decision was actually very extremely easy because you allowed yourself to know and learn this is not what I want. Like,
Mhm.
done, I'm done. And so I think this is a really powerful thing for us to think about. You put the tough in tough decisions. And with that, then you can also take the tough out of tough decisions as well. You can um, start leaning into what you want more boldly and knowing like I can handle any of the like the tough outcomes that might come from this, because I know not doing what I want is like greater risk or greater harm than maybe the tough things that would come out of allowing myself to lean into what I do want.
Mhm. It's so true. So true. That was the biggest wrestle and the longest. That was the time that took the longest for me to actually get through that conversation, is having all of those crazy
Mhm.
hamster wheel thoughts of like, how is this going to affect us? And
Yeah.
when are we going to spend time together and all these things, right? So
Mhm. Mhm.
I did make it a lot harder on myself, which probably
Mhm.
caused all the extra sickness within me.
Right. And to like also know too for yourself, like that that's okay. Like to not have that shame or judgment of yourself, like that's actually really very human. Like, and that maybe speaks to your character and your caringness of this relationship too, is like this relationship matters deeply to me. And so I know I want to do this, and I want to make us still the best that we can be as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Excuse me. And so being desire led in your life also helps you handle inconvenience. I always say, like, inconvenience is going to come up no matter what. You can choose to face it now and have convenience in the long run, or you can keep doing what's convenience and then have, inconvenience that you have to face down the road. So when we think about your want all the way through, asking yourself, how will this make you feel? Getting really clear with why you want it, then you're able to handle that inconvenience that may come with it. So, like, when we really, really, really want the want, we can totally handle the inconvenience. And I have a picture of a person dancing here because I had this desire to go to this like dance class. And like, I do not, I mean, I dance like for fun with our kids in the kitchen and stuff, but like to carry a beat or, well, like zero rhythm. No, not me. Zero
Choreograph.
rhythm.
Yeah, I'm the
I
same.
just like kind of flail about more than anything. And
You
there was this,
are alike.
yeah, like, gosh, please don't record this. Like, that's embarrassing. But there's this dance class that was like an hour and a half away from my house. That looks like so fun. It was just like wild dancing. They just dance in a parking lot and just like crank the music and just like bust a move. And I was like, that looks fun. Like, that's not your regular Zumba class where you follow all of these choreographed moves. Like, we just get together and we dance our butts off. And so I kept seeing it show up on my Instagram, and one of my friends started going, and I started seeing how much fun she was having at it. And I just was like, oh, that looks so fun. And so again, this was in that phase where I was like trying to lean into more of like what I want, the desires. And so I said, I'm going to this class. I told my husband, I'm going to the class. You got the kids for the day. It's going to be an hour and a half away. Like, my list of, oh my gosh, I just noticed I wrote inconvenience wrong here on this slide too. um, but my list of like what was inconvenient continued to grow and grow and grow. And I was like, I got to the point like, Kelly, like, this is ridiculous. Like, why go? Like, don't go. You have so many reasons in your head that you're creating not to go. And I knew my brain would do this. I knew my brain would do this. I knew it would make this fun thing be really inconvenient. It would make like my desire not matter, because that's what our brains do. They make that thing that you want just seem silly, seem frivolous, seem like, what's the point anyway? Like, you're going to have fun. What's the good of that? Our brain is just a real bugger sometimes. So I was on to my brain. I knew what it was doing. And I said, okay, yeah, it might be really ridiculous. It might be silly. It might be like not what I imagined it to be, but I'm going to go and I'm going to do it anyway. And my husband can handle the kids, and like, he's perfectly capable. Like, of course. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went to this dance class, totally not convenient to get to. Like, there's again, so many loopholes to get there, especially as a wife and a mother. That I was like, I'm going. And I went and I had the best time ever. I danced like a fool. Nobody cares what you look like when you dance there. And I made some new friends. And I even ran into somebody from my local community that was there. And we're both like, oh, what are you doing? Which then made the next time going, because then I went again, it made the next time going feel so much less inconvenient, because the first time of doing that thing you want is always the hardest time, because you have all of those like doubts and like, should I be doing this thoughts. But then when you go and you do the thing, the fun thing, the indulgent thing, the thing that feels so good and fun and right for you, then you know the benefits of it. Like, I came home like so happy and chipper. I was like, dance with my kids. I was having so much fun. Like, I rode the high from that fun dance experience for a week, and I like lived in the lessons that it taught me as well. And so just knowing, like, living a desire-led life allows you to handle the inconveniences when you get really clear with yourself and think like, how will this class make me feel? Oh my gosh, so fun. And sometimes because it would be fun, actually all the time, because it would be fun, is a perfectly acceptable answer. Like you don't need to justify why you're doing what you're doing. You don't need to explain yourself. Like for things that you want to do, I just think it would be fun. Is a
Mhm.
perfectly acceptable answer.
Yeah, without judgment or criticism to
Mhm,
yourself,
mhm.
right?
Exactly. Yeah. Because then that spills over to other people. Like when you're justifying to yourself, you're justifying to other people. But
Mhm.
when you're just like, I just want to go because it's going to be fun, then they're like, okay, well, sounds good. Go. Like they believe you because you believe yourself. Right.
That's right. Oh, that's good.
So also being desire led, it reduces temptations. Like we, again, it's like not indulgent. It's actually like the very opposite. You know what you want and nothing else. And so I have a picture of like donuts, of money, and of time. Like when you know what you want, you know you don't maybe want to eat the donut, or you know you do want to eat that donut, and you know one donut is going to be so like yummy, delicious, just like that espresso, and you're just going to like love it up and be so happy you ate it, and you're going to be so into the moment of eating that delicious donut that you're not going to want another one because one is all you need. Or you can also, on the other side, decide like, I know I want to feel this way. And I know that eating this donut will not contribute to that feeling.
Mhm.
And the same is true like with spending our money. When we get really clear and know what we want, then we don't spend money on like frivolous things or things that like aren't related to what we want. When we're really clear with what it is that we want, we only spend money on the things that like light us up, that feel good, that feel like an absolute want and nothing less. And the same with time, like we know what to do with our time. We know how to use our time and we know what energizes us, what lights us up, what fills us up.
Mhm.
Um, and so then this leads to another light bulb thought moment is that temptation is just an unmade decision. So it kind of comes full circle. If knowing what you want, leaning into your desires, knowing how you want to feel, that helps you know what you want, what you want. When you know what you want, it makes it easier for you to make decisions. And therefore, you are less tempted by things that are anything less than what you desire.
That's right.
So
My
saves
husband
time.
my husband teaches on budgeting principles, like godly
Mhm,
principles with budgets, and he bases it off of a book called Wealth, Riches, and Money from Earl Pitts. And he
mhm,
teaches the concept on, closing your circle, knowing how much is enough, asking yourself how much is enough, knowing what your your obligations, necessities, and wants are. And we were blessed to have Earl Pitts come and speak to our team quite a few years ago and just elaborate on his principles. And when he came to the wants, like my husband and I are like like we love to give. And so we never really put any of our actual desires or wants on in our budget list. And he just called us out. He's like, no, you can't do that. Yes, giving is great. And it's awesome that you have that heart, but you have desires, you have
mhm,
wants, and you have to be real with yourself. So you have to put those things into your budget list. Whether, so then we started getting challenged, like, what are our wants? What are some of the things that would bring us happiness and joy and bring our, moments that we can carry on throughout the rest of our life as we're growing with our family? And um, we were challenged. So
yeah,
we started listing out the things, and when we're talking budget wise, obviously we listed them all out, and some of them we've had to, put for a different season. But
mhm,
we got real, and we started, once we started that exercise, we just started listing all kinds of things. And we're still, to this day, it's been over a decade easily, of some of those wants that we're still nurturing and cultivating, right? But
mhm.
um, but you have to be real. You have to come to yourself and be like, what do I really want? And that is
That's
a
right.
really tough question for a lot of people, because we feel like we're not allowed to want things. We're supposed
Mhm.
to always give. And
Yeah,
right?
right. And think too like about that giving aspect. Like if you're constantly giving, giving, giving without giving yourself anything, that's where that like resentment comes in too. And so like, imagine how much more freely and joyfully and abundantly you're able to give when you allow yourself to like lean into those desires as well. And again, like they don't have to be like big, elaborate, like desires either. It can just be like creating those moments for yourself in your day to day of like presence. And I'll talk more about that too, but just like you get to give more freely when you also like receive more freely as well. I
That's
love that you are stretched in that way.
oh
Props
yeah,
to him.
we were stretched. He called us out. He's like, no,
Mhm.
what do you want? You have wants. Like you
Yeah.
gotta unlock them.
Mhm.
And so that was a really great gift to have him come in and really unlock that for us. Cause
Yeah.
yeah.
And like such a stretch for you too, to see like, gosh, wow, naming what I want is hard. Allowing ourselves to have it is hard, but also knowing like it helps give better, stronger, bigger.
Yes.
All of that.
So true. So, so true.
Mhm. Oh, perfect. I forgot this was the next slide. Being desire led reduces resentment. Just kind of what we touched on briefly here is like when you dig deep and get to the root of your resentment, it has nothing, literally nothing to do with the other person or the other thing. And it has everything to do about you. Somewhere along the lines, there was an abandonment of what you wanted. There was a neglect of you and yourself and your desires. And we can think of it like an example you gave of like giving, or you can even think about it like, I think like as a mother, like somewhere along the lines, there's some days where I just want a moment. I just want a long hot shower. So ask for it. And when I get it, I can show up more freely as a mom. But if I don't allow myself to have that small, simple desire, I'll be running around all day, mad at my husband for, taking a few minutes to rest on the couch or watching a show. And I'm like, you get to do everything you want. Like it just leads to this like ugly resentment thing that doesn't need to be there if we just allow ourselves those small, simple desires and pleasures in our own life and asking for that and allowing ourselves to have it.
So I love how you said asking for it, because even as you're sharing this, last year for my birthday, my want or my desire was to escape from everybody and everything in a VRBO by myself for 2 nights, just so I could recharge myself, so I could show up better for everybody else. And it took a lot out of me to actually say, this is what I want. It's not normal for us to do our birthdays like this. We usually have everybody come together, but I just
Yeah.
want to by myself. And I remember my son telling me, he's like, that's just weird. Like, you want to be by yourself on your birthday? I'm like, it will be such a gift.
Right. And someday he'll understand my son.
And it was tough to ask for it because I know that that's not a normal thing in our house. And I wasn't sure how it would be received, but it was definitely well received, and I was able to get away for a couple of nights, and I was able to recharge. But yeah, you have to be able to ask and
Right.
state what it is that you're wanting, so the resentment doesn't kick in. If I didn't ask, I would have had that resentment. I would have been vile and bitter throughout my birthday weekend, and
Yeah.
nobody would have understood why.
Right. Like think about, so you wanted this time alone. You knew you wanted this and you didn't state it. You didn't inform. You didn't, and it's not like asking to ask permission, is permission just more like informing, like this is what I want and what I'm going to do. Right. You with me? I'm going.
Yes.
Bye. However, if you didn't, you knew you wanted that and you didn't state that and you didn't like lean into that desire, and then you have a house full of people celebrating your birthday for you and you're just like, get out of my house, I want to be by myself. Like you aren't the person you want to be at that birthday party either.
Right.
And that's not the person that people want. Like they want you who does go do those things, who does like come back home like ready and excited to be with the people she loves because you've allowed yourself that space.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have to be true to your wants and communicate them. It's important.
Right. And I added a little note here too, like this is where the work lies. And you said for yourself too, like it was so hard to say what I want. And again, it's those thoughts of like your son stated probably the thought that was in your head of like, that's weird. Is that going to be weird to ask for that? Like all of these thoughts that we have in our head about what we want, sometimes the people in our lives repeat them back to us. Like we think to ourselves, that might sound weird to ask for. This isn't normal. Am I being selfish and I'm being indulgent? Like, shouldn't I just want what everybody wants to do for me? But like that's again the work. That's like getting really clear with yourself and allowing yourself to just even start to acknowledge what it is you want to feel and then allowing yourself to have that feeling as well. So I love that you shared that story and that you did that for yourself. Like that's a big deal.
It was a big deal because I know my husband for about a week prior, he's like, what do you want to do for your birthday? What do you want to do for your birthday? I'm like, I don't know. But I did. Like I
You
would
did.
say
You totally
I
knew.
don't know, but I'm screaming in my head, yes, you do know. Just
Right.
ask.
Yeah.
So,
And that's exactly like what I kind of set as a tone or a rule with like people I work with in coaching too, is like, I don't know is not an answer that is allowed. Because somewhere within there, you at least know something.
yeah, we
I
do.
love that because you're like, that's the perfect example. Like, I don't know. Like, we know, we do know, we always know. We just don't always like, aren't ready to maybe state it out loud to the people we love most in our life.
Mhm. So true.
Mhm.
It's so true.
Yeah. The
Well,
people who we
your
love most in
presentation's
our
like drawing all kinds of things out of me.
well, yeah, right. Like the
Okay.
people we love most in our life that are our closest and most important to us are also sometimes the hardest people to communicate our like truest, deepest desires to because they have this like expectation of us and they have this like this knowing of us up to this point and they're used to us. So it takes for them some adjusting to get to know this person who like wants to go somewhere for a weekend by herself. Like, what? That's not my wife, but like actually it is your wife. And like she wants this.
She needs
That
this.
takes some adjusting for people too. And then that too is like where the work of coaching is as well. Is like how to like allow the people and show love and compassion to the people that are getting used to this you that leans into more of what you want. It's like really, like I said, it's deep, intimate, powerful work, but like on the other side is immense freedom. It's a weekend alone by yourself. It fills
Yeah,
up your soul.
it does.
Yeah.
Strengthen you.
And so again, kind of going back to like the we create our own experiences, we want to stop waiting for it to get better. It gets better where we decide to make it better. And again, that comes back to our thoughts and our feelings and like creating our own experiences within the circumstances. Like thinking about the circumstances of the world right now, they're scary. It's not great, but yet, like, we can still like create our own experience of our life in our home, in the way we connect with people, in the way that we live as well. And so, we're going to dive into some simple steps, simple, like applicable right now ways that we can make our experiences or our circumstances better with our, excuse me, we are making our experiences better without necessarily like radically changing the circumstances of our life.
Mm.
And that starts with something that's free and available to all of us, or most of us, if we're able to incorporate all of these, and that is our senses. And it's really like when we start incorporating our senses, what we're really doing is we're just allowing a moment for a slowdown. So, like elevating the moments of our life now by allowing ourselves to smell. Like either that's like, like I have a flower, a beautiful flower that's blooming in our kitchen right now. And it has like the most fragrant smell. And I just like catch myself just like stopping for a moment and like just like smelling it and loving it. And I'm actually like not hating washing the dishes right now because that like beautiful flower is there. And another way too is like asking yourself, how do I want to feel through scent? Like maybe it's like putting on a lotion or a perfume or some sort of like fragrance or something that like really like just like maybe it calms you, maybe it like invigorates some energy in you, like really like allowing your sense of smell to elevate the desire in your life. And also taste, like asking yourself, how do I want this plate to feel? How do I want to be nourished? How can I elevate maybe this dish that's like a little bit bland and I add some more flavor to it? Like just like, something as simple as like adding lemon to your water or adding some more zest to like a dish you're creating or ordering, like really allowing yourself to like slow down and taste and savor your food. Going back to that donut example, like why we have so many donuts, why we want all the donuts is because we don't allow ourselves sometimes to like it sounds totally weird, but like to like slow down and like make out with that donut you're eating, like just love it up, right? Then you only need one instead of like a ton.
Yeah.
And also sight, like just like seeing what it is around you, seeing what it is in your life. And like that can go back to like the food, like creating like a beautiful display of your food and just like being so grateful as you look at what you see and what's in front of you. I'm a big fan of sound as well. Like, how can we elevate desire and joy and fun and pleasure in our life by sound? I love like setting a mood kind of playlist and playing that as I work, especially doing tasks that I don't love. Like I worked on our taxes a couple weeks ago. And so I got like a playlist that I just really enjoyed. It was like a nice kind of calm playlist, but it like helped take out like the not so fun out of doing the not so fun task. It elevated it a little bit.
Absolutely.
And then of course like feel, like our touch, our like how do our clothes, how do we want to feel? That can be many ways, but like how do we want to feel in our clothes and choosing our clothes accordingly, or like what do we want to feel against our skin? Or I think of something really simple but just like so amazing too, is like there's just something like when my daughter, she's almost 2, and she just like will put her hand like on my shoulder, and I just like love the feeling of like the warmth of her little cute little hand, and like just like slowing down enough to notice those like small sensations and experiences in our life really can be like the stepping stone of adding more joy, desire, and pleasure into our own lives. And I always love to use like the 10% rule of like, how could I make this 10% more desirable? Like incorporating all of the senses. Like, how could I make getting dressed today just like 10% better? So there's that to that question. So like allowing yourself some time and space to ask that question. How can I add in 10% more desire today? So that's like a real simple way to start adding this into your life. And then we want to take a look at you and what do you want? The scariest question of all time. And so a desire-led life is a process. It starts with naming what you want and getting really clear with yourself on why that want matters. And as we said before, sometimes naming that want is so hard. So instead, we start asking ourselves and getting clear with like, what do I not want? What do I not want to tolerate any longer? And a lot of times, thoughts and feelings that come up with naming what we want is shame, doubt, indulgence, selfishness, imposter feelings. Maybe we won't feel like we're going to belong anymore, or we continue to do things we don't want to belong. Fear is a big thing in naming what we want. And so when we can start to see and know and be aware of like, these are things that might come up with when naming what I want, then we can also ask ourselves, can I handle this? Can I handle this shame? Can I handle this doubt? Is there really shame to be had around this? Like, where is that coming from? And asking ourselves questions to really get to the root of where these undesirable feelings are coming from. I'm going to kind of just walk through some journaling questions that if anybody's watching this, I'm going to say them. And then if you want to, you can pause, spend some time writing them down in this moment, and then go on to the next one. And so when you think about your wants, what feeling holds you back the most? What feeling really holds you back from having what you want? That fear, that doubt, all of these questions are these feelings that I stated before. And also knowing like, oops, what we want, where'd that go? It just disappeared. What we want is really what we don't want is what we're not wanting to tolerate anymore. And so what are you tolerating that is getting in the way of what you want? Like, can you just see clearly, plain as day, are you continuing to tolerate? And sometimes what you're tolerating is your unwillingness to face those feelings, to face that fear, to face that doubt. Sometimes what you're tolerating is being told what to do by a boss that you don't really like or respect or want to work with anymore. Like, what we're tolerating can really vary person to person, want to want. And then also asking yourself, this is a juicy, good question. Who are you required to be in order to get what you want? Or maybe stated differently, who are you required to be in order to have what you want? And that might be that person who you're required to be bold. You're required to be honest with yourself. You're required to be truthful with what it is that you do want. You're required to be a person who is courageous. You're required to be a person who knows that those around them can handle your truth. Like, who you're required to be in order to get what you want is a very powerful question that I hope everybody pauses for a moment and just takes a moment to allow themselves to answer. Mm-hmm. So getting really clear with yourself, what do you want? And you can categorize this into all the different areas in your life, in your business, in your relationships, in your home, with your money, for your health as a parent, and you can have it all. Like, I'm a firm believer, you can have it all. Mm-hmm. And so let's get clear with what you want and asking yourself, how would that feel? So I'm incorporating some of our senses here with this like kind of satin back flow imagery too, of like, how would having what you want really feel? And allowing yourself to really sink in with that question as well. Mm-hmm. And just in interest of time, I'm going to skip over that piece. So another thing to realize too is that we've always gotten everything that we wanted. What if like that were true? Our whole life up to this point has been everything that we wanted, whether we see it that way as like, how could this, terrible experience been everything I wanted? Not maybe that terrible experience, but like your lessons from it. Like, it's been everything your life has wanted and needed. And so to get more of what we want, we also have to be at peace of truly releasing what no longer serves us. There has to be this piece of us that is, it's kind of like a death of this old way of being. We have to be at peace with letting that like Kelly 1.0 version go so that she can be this Kelly 2.0 version. And maybe it's like 1.18, 1.1, like it's these varying levels of like, what are these little pieces that we are willing to be at peace of letting go so that we can move into more of what we want. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times it starts with acknowledging how those things that we are needing to let go of to get what we want, acknowledging that they have served us up to this point, like this desire to belong, maybe like we have to let that go in order to step into more of what we want. But like, belonging has served you in many powerful ways. It's created community. It's created a place for you to be. It's created a sense of togetherness. Like, we have to let go of that judgment of ourselves the entire time, that like, to be where we are in this moment, we've been the person we've always needed to be. And in order to get to this next version, we've got to let some of those parts go and thank that part of us that got us here today, to acknowledge that person, that part of us is here today because it served us. And again, this is where the work lies, that like letting go piece, that seeing like how all of these things have helped create us to who we are today, and then deciding what parts of that we want to take with us moving forward. So asking yourself, what are you willing to let go of today? How will this help you live a more desire-led life? And when you are really clear and precise with what you want, it becomes easier and easier and easier to have that. And it's called the art of living a desire-led life for a reason. And the reason is that it gets messy. Art is messy. It's not just like a slap it on the wall, beautiful masterpiece. It comes in parts, it comes in pieces, it comes in trying this and trying that and being okay with the mess. And so maybe what needs to be let go is this part of you that is always needing perfection. Like letting go of that allows you to live more in that art, that messy, that getting really clear with yourself on what it is that you really want. And again, this is like so much of the work that I do in my coaching with clients and the people that I help like create their business, their life in a way that lights them up, because again, that is vital. And then if you're to sit with yourself and ask, what's one new thought or shift that has occurred that you can and will apply to your life today from this, presentation? There's lots of probably breakthroughs that occurred, but like, what's one thing that you can like easily stick in your pocket and take with you as you move forward?
I definitely like how you incorporate the senses, like all the senses. I've never really like tapped into, maybe I have to some degree, but like to be able to go through all of those senses and distinguish like what do I smell, what do I feel, what do I see, what am I hearing,
Right.
and sometimes those things can help us like filter through what we don't want in our life, if something isn't feeling right, if something isn't sitting right, we can start to make those shifts as well. But yeah, it's such a powerful visualization to have our senses is kind of like a plumb line of discernment, if that makes sense. That's what I'm feeling.
Right.
So it's so good.
Yeah, and it's like a starting point of like I can follow my desires. I can lean into what I want. Like it's the starting point. And it's also like the returning point. Like it's what you can keep coming back to when you feel like you're in a frenzy, when you're going too fast through life, when you're like starting to do what you don't want and starting to realize that, like come back to your senses first. And then that will remind you that you are capable of your desires, of having those desires.
And I love how you like say, who do you want to be, or who do you need to be to step into what you want and desire in this life? Because I do a vision board workshop, and that is definitely one of the exercises that we do, of listing out who you want to be, what do you want to do, and what do you want to have. But we start with who do we want to be, because in order to get what we want or what we want to do, we have to first figure out who do we want to become.
Yes.
And so that's kind of like the launch off point as to really taking that, examining who we are, and we're listing out like all the different things that we want to become, and who and how are we going to get there. Like, do we need to go back to school? Do we need to get into a mentorship program? Do we need to hire a coach? Like what, or whatever it is, like, do we just need some self-care and need to get away for a weekend by ourselves? Like, what do we need to be our best self, to be able to take on what we want to do, and to receive what we want and desire?
Yeah, I love that. Such a powerful, I love vision boards too. Like, and like incorporating that like deeper meaning behind it too. Like, why do I want this? What do I need to do? Like, where am I now that's not allowing that? And what do I want to create, want to make happen to allow this vision to come to life?
That's right.
Love that. So I just wanted to conclude, because I know we're coming close to time here, but you can, I'm telling you, you can have everything you want. And you aren't working, I'll say this, like if you aren't working with a coach who doesn't believe you can have everything you want, that doesn't see that full limitless possibility, perhaps that's something to pay attention to and consider and reconsider for yourself. Because I truly believe, like, if you want to become your most limitless possibility seeking self, you've got to be able to be held by somebody who easily sees that as possible, who like knows deep in their bones, like, of course, certainty, of course, you can have what it is that you want. And we can work there, we can get there together. And so I love this community that you've set up for people, Stacy, and I love being able to get to share this with everyone today. And I hope that anybody who's watched this has found value in it and has maybe like been able to apply something in their life from this today, moving forward as well. And so too, if anybody has any interest in getting to know like what it is like to work with me as a coach, as a coaching client, I have something called the Focus Forward session. Essentially, it's a fancy term for a consult. And we take a really deep dive and look at what your wants are. And then we create a plan of like how you can have that, because you totally can. I believe it like no other.
Yeah, I love that. I love, because sometimes we just need somebody like you in our corner that can believe in
Mhm,
our wants and that those wants are possible to
mhm.
achieve in order for us to have the courage and confidence to chase after those dreams and desires.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, yeah, it's great to have a coach that believes in your dreams and that can support you and encourage you and cheer you on along the way and give you the
Mhm.
kick in the pants that you need when you get a little down on yourself, because we all
Yes.
go through it, right?
Yeah, like we have the start and we have the end, and then the middle is like where we need those kick in the pants. It's messy. It's like I can't keep going. I don't want to. And a coach is like, yes, we can keep going. And it doesn't have to be like hard or pushy. It's just like kind of like removing the muck in our brain, removing like the muck of what's keeping us stuck and like letting the water become clear.
So good, so good. Such a valuable presentation that you brought to us today, Kelly. I thank you ever so very much for bringing that. Your PowerPoint is stunning, by the way. I loved all of the graphics and the way you did the presentation and all the points that you brought to life for us.
Thank you.
So if anybody here, you did share your website, but I do believe you're on social media as well. So
Mhm.
and basically it's the same, like Live Well with Cal is your social media handles.
Yep. It's all Live Well with Kel on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm on Pinterest as well, which is super fun. And I also want to point out too, thanks for noting that you loved the graphics, because that is something, a desire I've been leaning into for myself, is to adding in some design opportunities for clients as well, because so many people that I work with, they like love the idea of their business and they want to share it with the world. And I see like helping them like create their design, their brand, their logo, all of those sorts of things, like helps them step more powerfully into who they are, what they want to create into the world. And so it's something like time passes that I love like doing and playing and tinkering around with. And so I was like, if you love this, why not add it in to what you offer in ways that you can help people? So I just wanted to add that into, as you pointed that out, that if anybody is looking for like design that creates feel in your business, that like brings your vision of your business to life, I love helping with that as well.
That's so much fun. I love the creative side of bringing bringing that heart's desire to life, right? And it
Mhm.
does. When I first got my logo done, it was just like, okay, it's official.
Right.
But
Like
then,
it allows you to
yeah,
show up. Hmm.
and the meaning behind my logo, who the person I got to create it for me just captured the heart, really the essence of what I wanted to capture is just, it's the heart. So just bringing love across the globe. So if you look at my logo, the heart looks like a world map. And so
Hmm.
and it has all the different colors and the different areas to really highlight the different parts of the world on that heart
Hmm.
shaped. world globe. So it really was able to capture what I wanted to bring to the world. And so it does make a huge impact when you can bring those elements to the forefront, especially in business. So
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And I can like see like that's the power of like that. Like you're excited talking about it.
yeah,
Imagine having a logo or design where you're like, yeah, it's my logo. Like
it's
it's not
pretty
the same.
it's pretty masculine, but I run a feminine business. Like
Right.
there's nothing wrong with having a masculine logo if that's the presence and the way the message you want to bring to the world, right? Like
Mhm,
you have
mhm.
to be able to whenever you're bringing those elements into your business, you have to be able to attach yourself, get those senses going. Does
Right.
this represent the heart of my business? And
Mhm.
how I want to show up in the world. And so those
Yeah.
are great. Coming back to the senses, I absolutely loved that. That is gold. You could have dropped the mic right then and there, Kelly.
Mhm. Right. Love
So
that.
well, thank you so much once again for coming and just sharing your expertise and your heart with the community. I truly appreciate you sharing your time with us. And I hope to see you continue to stick around and just show up in any way you feel fit to do so. I absolutely love your heart.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And again, like for creating this space, like you're making changes, you're creating more love across the world as your logo says. And I think just like too, the courage it takes to do what you want. Like you've created this space out of a desire and like look at what it can grow and what it can create. It's like it's a ripple effect beyond our knowing, which is so exciting.
So exciting. And it continues to evolve. So thank you
Yeah.
for being part
Love
of
it.
that involvement.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I love that.
Take care, love.
All right. Thanks.